Well, the big story locally overnight were the appalling scenes outside the official launch of the No campaign here in South Australia against the proposed Voice referendum. A raft of senior politicians and also ordinary punters who were getting along to express their support for a no vote were harassed and ridiculed and abused with profanities as they tried to exercise their democratic right to attend a meeting. We've heard some of the audio that was taken by Senator Alex Antic. It's all been bleeped out, but the ferocity with which these people were carrying on, the florid nature of the language that they were using was simply appalling.
This is your Australia. Thank you, Labor government. Thanks for the unity.
Well, one of the speakers who attended the event last night is Liberal Senator Kerryn Little, who herself is an Indigenous woman originally from Alice Springs, and we have her on the line now to find out more directly about what unfolded at this meeting last night. I've got to say, Senator, it must be weird as an Indigenous Australian to be arriving at an event like this and being called a racist by people in the crowd.
Well, it was pretty disgusting behaviour, but it was quite a small but very vocal group of people. I felt more for, the people who spoke to me, who were young people, older South Australians, and even families. I spoke to a family from the western suburbs, a small business owner, who was there with his children, and, power to them for walking through that disgusting diatribe, just to come and hear the reasons why they should consider very carefully any changes to our national document.
We understand that these protesters originally weren't even there to protest against the no vote. They were the no campaigners. They were upset about AUKUS or submarines, and they were originally picketing a submarine conference. They sound like sort of rent a crowd who'd rather have a fight than a feed, don't they?
Well, it was quite clear to me observing this early that they were focused on AUKUS, but they were later joined by a couple of other people, and their attention all of a sudden turned to the meeting that we were having. I guess, I had a bit of a giggle with a couple of people because it seemed like they basically just flipped their signs over from AUKUS to calling for Aboriginal rights, and yet the irony was there were 3 Indigenous speakers speaking at that meeting, and they were just trying constantly to drown out any voice anybody had at that meeting, and there were over 1,200 people there, about voice.
Absolutely.
Senator, Warren Mundine has spoken in the last 48 hours about the prospect of treaty negotiations beginning after the Voice referendum. Jacinta Price and Peter Dutton have said they don't want to see any such progress of that conversation and don't see it having a role in the future here in Australia. What's your position on a treaty?
Well, I'm wholly focused at the moment on the issue of voice, and I noticed when the Prime Minister is asked these questions too, he refers media to the same. This is about a coordinated approach from myself and from Warren Mundine and Senator Price to defeat this referendum, because we do believe the thing we do all agree on is that it's divisive, unknown, risky, permanent, and it's tricky to be putting voice in with constitutional recognition, which is something that I think all Australians agree with, as well as wanting to improve the lives of Indigenous people.
But does a no vote progress the cause of people who want to see a treaty, or does it end those conversations in your view?
Well, when you see the Uluru Statement from the Heart, it talks about agreement making, a process for agreement making. But other than that, there's not a lot of detail about what the focus of this voice will be. And certainly it's really clear from the wording that is proposed in the chapters that it's not for Parliament or anybody else, let alone the Minister, to dictate what the voice would look at. Matters is very, very broad, and words matter in the Constitution, and that's one of the issues that I have with voice. I don't think it's been sufficiently explained how another committee, as the Prime Minister calls it, that's costing us over $350 million just to get to a yes or no vote, is going to be any different from the many committees that are already in place or that have been in place previously. This is just a very, very expensive one, costing us that amount of money before we even get through a referendum to say yes or no. It's just that it's in the Constitution and it's in there likely forever, regardless of whether it makes any change.
Karen Little, you've only been in politics for barely 12 months. You got in at the election last year as a new senator for South Australia. I hope you don't mind me asking you, but looking at things like last night's event and seeing some of the things that have been written and said on social media, no vote advocates being denounced as racists and bigots and all sorts of names that I couldn't use on air. How have you found the tone of this discussion? Do you think that these are just isolated ratbag voices, or have you felt uncomfortable being part of this debate as someone who's sort of, still sort of new to politics in a sort of party political sense?
Well, I'm about, the concept of truth-telling when we're talking about important issues like this, and that means it's very easy for me to continue to have these difficult conversations, including having conversations with people, that say pretty ordinary things about people having an alternate position. And I just remind people, you may disagree with the position of your friend, your family member, but that doesn't mean that you lose respect for them or you dishonour them in any way. And I think one of the important things that I think about when I'm thinking through these things is, those people that came last night to walk through what they walked through just wanted to exercise their democratic right to hear and be heard. And, then I look at the alternative, which was sure a crowd of people turning up in Adelaide, but some of those people would have been there for the wonderful entertainment that was on offer for free. They had to register for that event. Those things, we know how many are going to be there. We know why they're coming. Some of them would have been there specifically for voice and to hear the argument. Others would have just turned up for the music. And I think South Australians, when they consider the really important proposition that is before us and the importance of our foundation document, they won't be buoyed by slick advertising. They won't be buoyed by celebrities. I'm hoping that they will exercise very considered judgment and vote in the interests of all Australians, and not just for now but into the future.
Senator Karen Little from the Liberal Party there on last night's wild scenes outside the No launch here in South Australia. Thank you very much for joining us this morning for Breaking at 8.
Thank you very much.